we are at essentially the third of the way point in the season. Number of teams have played 27-ish games. And I thought we could go look at the Coach of the Year race. Everybody knows I'm fascinated with coaches. We do our coaching series. We've had a couple of these coaches on. Hopefully we'll get a couple of these coaches on at some point this season. But right now, Chris Finch and Mark Daigneault have the 1 and 2 spot in terms of odds. Plus 250 for Chris Finch, plus 250 for Mark Daigneault. They're the co-favorites. Finch began the season at plus 2,800, and Daigneault, I felt, had some buzz coming into the season. He began the season at plus 650.
I will say we had Chris Finch on the show early September, and I think you were ahead of the curve on this team and on him in particular. My question about this particular race right now, this coach has to come from the West, right?
That's interesting.
When you just look at how stacked the conference is.
Well, it doesn't have to come from the West. I think there's a world, especially with the way Milwaukee's playing offense right now, and the defense is normalized to a degree. There's a world where the Bucks end up with the number 1 seed, and you would have to look at Adrian Griffin. There's a world where the Boston Celtics run away with the best record in the NBA, and you'd have to look at Joe Mazzulla. And there's certainly a world where neither of those two teams create any separation, and the Philadelphia 76ers are right there at the end of the season, and you'd have to look at Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse, by the way, currently 6th in odds, but that to me would be a play, right? Because Nick Nurse, the job he's done and the way Maxi's playing, of course, Joel, Tim and I are going to talk about this next week a little bit. The way he's just elevated his game even more after the last 3 or 4 seasons. It's remarkable.
Yeah, and also just when you think about what he walked into off the court. The only other guy I'd mention who's on here is Mosley in Orlando. Depending on where if they're a top 4 finish, maybe they're in it.
I agree. And if you look right now at sort of division odds in the Southeast Division, Miami's still the betting favorite to win that division. Orlando is second. But certainly there's a world with Jamal Mosley if that team continues to win at the pace that they're winning at. And he's built, I think with coaching too, it's like, have you built an identity with your team?
Yeah.
Beyond just, do you have a bunch of talent? You know what I mean by that? Like, you need talent in the NBA. I think Coach of the Year, so much of Coach of the Year, like a lot of these awards, but Coach of the Year in particular, I think is based off of what are your expectations, and did you exceed those expectations?
Yeah. Is that with that sort of metric, would that be an argument for Finch and what he's built in Minnesota?
For sure.
With that defense?
They have a great defense. They figured out how to be good enough offensively. He's getting a lot. The thing I love about the Wolves right now, he's getting a lot from the bench. Obviously, Naz Reid has had some big nights offensively, but I love what my guy Nickeil Alexander-Walker's doing, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, just in terms of his pressure, his length, disrupting at the point of attack. And so he's getting a lot out of his players, and I think that's important. OKC, of course, top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Daigneault, we sang his praises last year. I think I may have even had him in the top 3 at the end of the year in my awards vote for NBA Coach of the Year. I think I may have put him 3rd, maybe even 2nd. I would have to go back and rewatch that episode, but I know I had him in my top 3. So I think there was like some momentum going into the season, particularly just with the OKC buzz, and they've been as good as expected, if not better.
What is it today? December 20th, 2023. How surprised are you that Minnesota and OKC are the top 2 teams in the West right now?
I would say I'm not surprised. The one team that I think I haven't been disappointed with, but the one team that I thought would be number 1 at this stage was the Denver Nuggets, particularly with the way they started the season. And Jamal Murray gets hurt. That certainly factors into it. They've had a tough schedule. I know they have one of the easiest schedules basically from here on out.
Yeah.
And not only in terms of opponents, but in terms of back-to-backs. So I think some of that is the Denver thing is a little surprising. The other thing that's surprising is that, their 5-man unit has a plus, 10 or more plus net rating. Their starting 5, which is great. Offensively, they've been awesome. They've been a little disappointing, that unit, defensively. So yeah, Denver's the one team that I would say I thought would be, first or second right now. Right now, they're 5 games out of first in the loss column. That's surprising. That's surprising. Yeah. But give credit to Minnesota. Minnesota's awesome. So yeah, something to monitor throughout the season. As it pertains to the Lakers, by the way, going back to that division thing, right now the Lakers have the 4th best odds to win the Pacific Division. Clippers have the best odds. Then it's the Suns. Then it's the Kings. Then it's the Lakers. The Western Conference, fascinating,
crazy. Well, I want to ask about.
You can move literally be in the 3rd spot and then all of a sudden be 9 a week later.
I want to ask about 2 teams in the West who I don't think are in the Coach of the Year conversation right now, but I think we should talk about, and that's the Warriors and Memphis. The Warriors had a great comeback win last night, and then Ja. Where these are 2 teams, if the playoffs started today, would be in the outside looking in. But we talk about the stacked Western Conference. I don't think anybody wants to play the Warriors.
Yeah,
and the Memphis is the 30th ranked offense right now, but the Ja was unbelievable last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with the Grizzlies right now, just to basically be in that sort of probably 8, 9, 10 spot, not even 7, they'd have to go 35-21 from here on out to get to about 42-40. And I think that's a lot in the Western Conference. Yeah. And, you've got to do that with basically no other major injuries or no other setbacks. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because you watched them play last night, particularly in the second half, and you're like, okay, I see it. Ja's awesome. Ja's awesome. I mean, he just took over down the stretch. It was like, I'm getting to the basket and you can't stop me. It's like, I had this old T-shirt when I was a kid. It was like, I think I have a picture of it somewhere, but it's like, my decision around the rim, it was like, elevate and decide in the air. And obviously I never did that, but
it's funny. It's funny to think of you wearing that shirt, but it is crazy. I mean, the end of the game last night, we knew
I wore it as a 10-year-old. I couldn't even touch the net.
I feel like we should bring this shirt back, but it's like at the end of the game, we knew what he was going to do and he still did it. First game back.